Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. It's Space Cowboy here with another video for you guys here today. Surprising, considering my schedule. But we got to talk about something that just took place today, where Jerry Jones literally threw a childlike tantrum on 105.3 The Fan because he was asked simple constructive criticism questions regarding roster construction and the state of the team as it is right now, and he literally threatened the jobs of those at 105.3 The Fan. I thought I would never see the day that this would happen. I'm going to play the clips, and then we're going to further discuss.
Jerry, I think the counter back when you said where are you going to get the players, you can't get them this week is, and you're aware of all the off-season topics.
Yeah, but what is your counter? What is your damn counter?
My counter
I
is...
really want to know where you would go get it. Now, don't tell me about should gotten a guy in the off season.
Why not?
This isn't a damn word argument just because I'm not arguing with you. I'm dealing with how we line up against San Francisco, not what I did wrong last week or last month or 2 months ago or 2 years ago. If I really gave you guys a list of all the things I've done wrong over the last few years, you couldn't be on this program for the next 5 years steady and go over it. But every now and then you do some right things, and at the end of the day you add it up, and the rights give you a better spot than the wrongs. But if you think for any minute right now, there'll be one Super Bowl champion. What did the others do wrong? There's one Super Bowl champion. Now, we want to be that champion. And I'm sure not throwing the towel in today because of what happened out there Sunday. But I'm not going to sit here and waste a lot of energy, a lot of time. Let's talk about what I should have done back in 1907 or 2017. Shit, Ben. Come on. I've got more time than that, and I actually don't even have time on this great show for looking back at decisions.
Okay. So, Jerry, 1970, a little different from this past off season in building the team we're talking about today, which there was a lot of criticism that you guys didn't add, didn't spend, and don't add, and don't spend, and are not aggressive enough with some of the problems that are still haunting the Cowboys today that we see play out on the field. That's the point of talking about the off season.
I remember those criticisms very well. Okay, so what?
Or are they playing out to be accurate?
What's your point?
My point is, it seems like
Listen, let me tell you what I'll do. About it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio, and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not. And I really don't, and I don't even want our listeners to listen to me, to talk about, this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask
why. A job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why the Dallas Cowboys are never seeing themselves win a Super Bowl so long as Jerry Jones continues to own the team and his family is alongside him as well. This team failed this offseason to construct a roster which could be competitive. And even if we wanted to say that the Cowboys were not going to be in a position to win the Super Bowl this year, I want you to think about it this way. The Dallas Cowboys had an opportunity to add a running back, and they didn't. Oh, but they added Zeke. They added Royce Freeman. Okay, what has resulted in those moves? Nothing. They could have brought back Tony Pollard. I was kind of like, you don't want to pay a running back that much money, but at least he's being effective out there in Tennessee. Then we want to talk about, how you're managing your draft capital. You traded away a 4th-round pick for a third-string quarterback that clearly is never going to see the field so long as he's here in Dallas. And you could have used that pick for a running back or another position. At wide receiver, think about it this way. You literally have 3 dudes, and that's pretty much it. You have CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, and everybody else is a bunch of scrubs. Sorry, Cavante Turpin and everybody else, but it's the truth. They aren't doing anything meaningful for you. Sure, Turpin's coming up here and there, but my point is that they aren't giving you the production that you want as a team. Then we could talk about defensively. They have, somewhat depth, but really it's just deplenished because of injury. And, the only move that you really made that really gave you a starter was Eric Kendricks. But if we're being totally transparent, I mean, you didn't bring back Stephon Gilmore for the fact of, you losing a guy like Trevon Diggs and maybe he's not fully recovered. I think he's fine. But my point is that then you lose a guy like DaRon Bland and you don't have that dude behind him, and he's doing well in Minnesota, all things considered. And again, I'm not even saying to go out and add every player. Jerry wants to make it seem like we're saying you need to add 20 new players to make this team better right now. That's not what we're saying, man. We're asking for a handful of moves like we saw in 2023, for example. You went out and you got a cornerback in Stephon Gilmore for cheap draft capital. You went out and you got a Brandon Cooks. That made your team significantly better than it was in 2022. And you fail to replicate that. You think that's your all-in push. It isn't. It isn't. That is basic moves that a front office would make. Now, when we talk about the draft class, I mean, you're basically hoping that your draft picks pan out so that you can make up for the deficiencies that you have in free agency. And then I see a lot of people telling me, oh, well, Space Cowboy, why should they fire Mike McCarthy when it's Dak Prescott and the players that aren't doing well? Okay, well, who's paying the players? Who's hiring the coaches? Who's grabbing the personnel? It isn't Dak Prescott. It isn't CeeDee Lamb. It isn't Mike McCarthy. He might have some influence on it, sure. It's Jerry Jones, because last time I checked, he is in charge of football operations alongside his son, and he gives his son a hell of a lot of authority. And you mean to tell me that I'm going to sit here and talk bad about the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the defense, everybody? I don't really care, because it all goes back to the central focal point of the problems this team has. And it's the man-child that lives in Texas that is Jerry Jones. Acting like a spoiled child when he gets told no. I'm sorry, Jerry. This isn't the 1990s anymore. You can't just build your team through the draft fully. You have free agency for that. I'm not saying build a team fully through free agency. Again, if you know who I am, I have clamored for the Cowboys to just make some moves to plug up holes so that they're not caught with their pants down. And we've seen so many times where you have some players out there that you can bring in for depth, not as a starter. And think about it this way, right? You brought in Dalvin Cook, who is on your practice squad. You clearly don't know what you have in him, but I'm telling you, he would be a lot better of a running back too than Ezekiel Elliott. And when I say that, people think I hate on Zeke. No, man. I just feel bad that they're trotting Zeke out there knowing that he isn't the same guy anymore. Congrats to him hitting 9,000 rushing yards and shit. One of my favorite players of all time. But it's sad, man. And then when we want to talk about the on-field performances, again, when you go look at the film, watch at how these dudes are performing, number one. But number two, look at how the offense is being run. It's so generic. There's little to no motion. And on top of that, a lot of the concepts look so damn similar, it's like they're easy to figure out on film. And that falls on coaching. And you could say that falls on player execution as well. People want to talk about if you want to get rid of Dak. You can't. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to bring up a solution that cannot be done or that the Cowboys will not do. I'm trying to look at it for the reality of the situation that it is. And the thing is that it feels so much like the 2012 season where they're average, but they're not good. But the record says otherwise. If you go back and watch that 2012 Cowboys team, they were not good. They weren't. And you could say that about any of the teams that Jason Garrett had early on from 2011 to 2013. And I don't mean to just drone on and on and on about stuff we already know, but guys, I just don't understand how anybody can seriously sit there and be like, oh yeah, you know what? I don't think it's Jerry Jones's fault. There have been many players that have come and gone. There have been many coaches that have come and gone, but there has been one constant that has remained, and that is Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and his family that has remained at the top and has watched this team go on 30 now years of not making it to an NFC title game. Forget the Super Bowl. The fact you can't make it to the Final Four winning 2 playoff games because you can't run the ball or defend the run is embarrassing, man. Again, we could talk about the now and how things are looking now. Well, this has been problems that the Cowboys have failed to address. Again, when you fail to utilize one part of team building, it's going to put you in a much difficult spot. And again, we're not saying, I don't see any fans going out there saying we need to sign a dude that's $30 million plus, to do what they need to do and all this. No, we're just asking for basic starters that are cheap to fill in the holes, so then when we get to the draft, don't got to worry about that. And then on top of that, don't be afraid to use your draft capital to add already existing talent to the team. Like if you wanted to trade the second round pick for a wide receiver, I don't know, for Cortland Sutton, I'm just throwing out an example. Sure, at least you're looking to add and do things, like you're trying. I've said this also several times, and then we're going to get out of here. What makes this hard to make videos and talk about the team is because you don't try. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones don't even try to construct a roster because it's the same thing. It's one thing if we tried to build a team and it failed, and they're scared. Trying to find the word. They're scared of failure because they know it doesn't get them what they want, and that is financial satisfaction. I've thought about it for a while now. I don't think, and I think I said this when they re-signed Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. They don't re-sign players because they want to win a championship. They re-sign players to maintain the status quo because they know that these particular players, we know who they are, we're going to keep them. And keep in mind, I don't have a problem with Dak Prescott being here. I don't have a problem with CeeDee Lamb being here. What I have a problem with is that if you're making these moves, which it appears, to keep fans engaged, but not with winning a championship, that's a problem for me. And it's not like they're going to trade any of their young players. Like if you wanted to trade, hypothetically, Micah Parsons and get a ton of draft capital back, you're not going to see the Cowboys do that. I feel bad also for Zach Martin, man. He looks like a shell of himself this year because he's getting older. This is probably his last year. And we want to sit there and basically be like, oh, everything's fine. Everything's great, and we just need the players to play better. Bro, it's from the top down. If the players aren't playing well, and your coaches aren't helping them play better, then maybe you need to fix the problem. Because last time I checked, all of the players that you have on this squad, we've seen them play very well. Why is it this year that it's a problem? I wonder why. But I've droned on long enough. I think you guys see why I'm very irritated about this front office and why I'm not making as many videos because of this shit. But I'll talk to you guys later. You have a great rest of your day.